What is poppin', y'all? It's your boy Boss, and we back with another interview on the channel. I have a very, very special guest. I am here with
Twanna Hines.
Hey, so Twanna is a great friend here in Portugal, and I'm excited to interview her. She has a very, very dope story, great background, has been everywhere. So another perspective for you guys. So, how you doing, Twanna?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here. So let's start with just your background. So where did you first start traveling and moving to? So
I love it. I started with study abroad. I was
okay.
not very brave, is what I say often. And so for me, when I went abroad for the first time, I picked a place where English was widely spoken. I studied abroad in Canterbury, England.
Wow.
And so
Canterbury.
Canterbury,
Oh, goodness.
home of the Canterbury Tales,
You in
Chaucer, all of these
Canterbury.
things.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
So I started there, and then after that, I moved to London for work.
Okay.
And then after that, I went back to the States, and I was like, wrong decision.
Really? Yeah.
Plus, I fell in love with a Dutchman, so then I ended up moving to the Netherlands.
She got a Dutchman. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I moved to the Netherlands. So I was in the Netherlands for years, moved back to the States, and
Okay.
then yada yada yada. I live in Portugal.
Okay. So England first,
Yes.
then the Netherlands,
Yes.
then now Portugal.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
So why Portugal?
I love Portugal. I will tell you advice that a therapist gave me long ago.
Okay, talk
when
to
I was,
him.
So I'd broken up with a guy, and I was thinking of moving out of that town. And I was like, I don't want to be one of those women that makes all my life choices based on my guy, whether it's moving to a place for him or leaving because we broke up. So I was like,
okay.
what do I do? And my therapist told me, she's like, I want you to write down 10 things that you need in a city, no matter what. And so then I wrote those down, and then in my next session, I told her what they were, and she's like, this town has none of those except for sunny weather.
Wait, and which town was this?
That's outing the boyfriend if I say the town.
Okay, don't have to.
We won't do
but
that.
it
We
wasn't
won't do that.
Portugal. It wasn't.
No, this was in the U.S.
Okay. Okay.
Exactly.
Got
Back
it.
in the U.S.
Okay.
And so then she's like, I'm asking all the questions.
My fault. No, I just wanted to make sure
it's
that
okay.
it wasn't Portugal. Okay.
It was not Portugal. It's in the U.S. And so she's like, this town only has sunny weather. That's it. So she's like, you're not really leaving because of him. You're leaving because you don't want to live in this town. I was like, thank you.
Great question.
Right? So when I was debating where I would live abroad when I decided to come back abroad again, I went back to that same advice, and I wrote down 10 things that would be important to me no matter where I lived.
Okay, great
Sunny
advice.
weather, beaches, people who looked like me in the
Yes.
country, all of these different things. And Portugal kept coming up number one. Friendliest people, safest democracy, 300 sunny days a year. So I ended up here for so many reasons, and I fell in love with it. I love Portugal.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you put the 10 things down. So when did you arrive in Portugal?
2021, November 19th, 2021.
Oh, okay. Couple months after
Anniversary.
me.
This is my third year.
Okay.
Exactly.
So 3 years now in Portugal.
Yes.
What would you say you love most about your time here in Portugal?
The people.
People.
I think that I've tried to actually get to know the language,
Yes.
get to know my neighbors.
Hold on. Could you repeat what you just said?
I
Loud
learned
and clear.
the language. I learned the language.
Yep.
And I think everyone should learn the language when you move to another country.
Great
You're
advice.
only doing a disservice to yourself and making yourself feel more like an outsider if you do not learn the language of the place where you live. Even in countries where English is widely spoken, like the Netherlands, when you go to the grocery store, everything's going to be in Dutch. Like all of the fruits, the veggies, the canned goods, like everything's going to be in Dutch. So no matter what, learn the language where you're living. So I would say the people. I've learned the language, not fluent after such a short amount of time, but I've put a lot of energy into it. I know my neighbors, I know the shopkeepers at the places nearby. And so it's been such a warm and welcoming country. So I'm very appreciative of that.
Wow, amazing. So guys, listen, I love how she emphasized that because that is a question I get all the time, and I tell people, learn the language wherever you go. You may not be fluent, that's fine, but countries, people, locals will appreciate that you're embracing the culture and trying to integrate, and communication is the first step. So, okay. So, biggest challenge. What has been your biggest challenge in your time? Well, moving to Portugal or in your time in Portugal?
So many different things. One I will highlight just because I don't think people talk about it enough: friendships.
Oh,
It'll
okay,
feel like
that's
a
new.
revolving door your first year sometimes in a country where it's like you meet someone, they move, or you get to know each other better beyond just, hey, we're both two people who live in this country who aren't from here. And you think, we actually don't have that much in common.
Yeah.
Or you're kind of a dick, or they think she's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? But I would say the beginning, just that can be very hard and wearing when you're like in a new country. I moved here on my own, right? So in a new country, trying to make new friends. If you're not here with school or with like a group of people who are all here with you, that can be kind of challenging in the beginning. So the kinds of things that I suggest are, one, make sure you still have regular conversations with the people back home, because it can be easy to be like, I'm starting my life here, but no matter how long you live in that country, you still have a longer history with your people back home, the friends you hung out with before. So I started having regular standing calls with people back home, which helped me a lot.
Okay.
The other thing is I started getting much more involved. I became a member of my local gym where the classes are in Portuguese. I don't go as much as I should, but I am a member. And I also became a member of the local aquarium, the Oceanarium.
Oh, seriously?
Like, yeah, I'm a
Wow,
member. And so I
okay.
go there on a regular basis. I'm going tomorrow morning.
You put me on the game. I need to start doing this stuff. Man,
Yeah,
okay.
and I joined this thing called Time Left. Have you heard of this?
Time left? No.
Yeah, so they're running ads everywhere because that's how I found out about it. It was on Facebook or Insta or something.
Yeah.
But it's 5 strangers, you and 5 strangers. All they tell you is what countries they're from, and then you fill out a profile. All these people fill out profiles, and then they like tell you, all right, you're going to dinner at this place. So you just show up and you sit down for dinner with these people.
That's fire.
And
That's fire.
and you just meet new people. So I didn't love everybody at my dinner, but like at least two of the people I walked out of there with, where we exchanged contact information.
Yeah.
And so just different things like that. Every country you go to, meetup groups are big here in Portugal.
Very.
Facebook groups and meetup groups. So whatever country you're in, there's probably some digital way in which people are kind of congregating. So that's a great way to do it.
Wow, that's advice. That's advice. So
you.
friendships. Okay. So life here in Portugal. Let's talk about your business,
Yes.
entrepreneurship.
Yes.
So explain to them what it is and what has it been like doing that here in
Yes.
Portugal.
Yes. So I am the founding CEO.
CEO.
Yes. of a company called Funky Brown Chick. And we have 2 lines of business. All of our business is about social impact. So we do data analytics and digital strategy on the client side. That's one side of it. So think of it this way. Any progressive cause or any important thing, they need to get the word out about what they do that directly speaks to their financial stability, that speaks to their ability to reach more people with their message. We help them do that. So that's the client side of the business. The other side of the business is build in the field for sexual and reproductive health and rights. I've been a sex writer, sex educator, sex counselor, and helping people in these spaces, everything from anti-teen dating violence to why it's important that Plan B is available, anything about sexual and reproductive health and rights and justice and education. I've been writing, teaching, and speaking about that for a long time. Almost as long as this one's been alive.
She said this has been alive. You younger than me. Amazing. So,
Yes.
and you've been doing that your whole time here in Portugal?
Yeah, my whole time
Okay.
here in Portugal, my entire time here in Portugal. So that's another thing I would encourage people to think about too. Your biorhythm is likely to stay the same. I had a really hard time with that. I'm an early morning person. We work East Coast hours, so that's 2 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Yep.
Weekdays, and I'm like, I'm usually up by 6 or 7, and so that got kind of hard to get used to in the beginning. I adjusted, and it's fine. But that's one of those things that I'm like, ooh, I didn't factor that into like my 10 things of like what my biorhythms are. You know, like
100%.
something to think about.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to, let's say, an entrepreneur back home that wants to continue their journey, maybe work on their business or someone they're a part of, and maybe that may be hesitating them for moving abroad because they nervous of, if I work in another country. So
Yeah. So a couple different things. One, if you run your business, you know it's very unlikely that you feel like you have a big plate. It's more likely that you feel like you have 17 different plates with all different things spinning. You may work in the business, manage the team, and run the business, and have the fiduciary responsibility of the business and the bank accounts and all the stuff. So it can feel like you have a lot of different things going on. And so I would say if you're someone who runs your own business and you're thinking about whether or not you want to work abroad, first thing, it can be so easy to get down in the weeds of your work and things like that. Change of scenery is good. You have innovative ways of thinking. You're introduced to new ideas. I just came back from Web Summit, which is a tech conference here in Lisbon. I walked out of there with synapses flying about like different things I could be thinking about that I could be implementing in my business.
Flowing, yep.
Yeah, and so like being outside of your day to day could be super helpful. The other thing is I've been thinking a lot about the difference between growing your business and scaling your business, right? Yes.
Talk to him.
Yes. And so as you think about kind of like where you want to go with your business and grow and or scale, that could include international markets. And so being in another place and seeing like what does it look like here for you? Because every business is different. Even if you stay in the same business, the language for my field changes depending on where you are. United States, sexual reproductive health and rights. That same field abroad, family planning. Back in the United States, we talk about nonprofits, international NGOs, INGOs, bilateral in the United States, multilateral outside. So there are all these kinds of ways in which even if you stay in the same field, you can really grow and scale in a way of getting to know how your field functions outside of the United States.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. This she's going off right now, y'all. She's giving y'all game.
And we danced together before this too.
Yeah. So we hyped up.
Yeah, we're hyped up.
So wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
So okay, next topic I want to get into like housing. This is a common question. What was your process like trying to find the right place? And yeah, let's dive into that. And what advice would you give to that person that's like
stabbing me in my heart right now, y'all?
I'm sorry.
Stabbing me in my heart. I had such a hard time with housing here.
Man.
So the first piece of advice I would say is expect that you are not going to live in the same place that you land in when you land in your country.
Wow.
Right? You will probably
Americans,
move.
are you listening?
You're probably going to move multiple times. I'm probably on my 10th residence, so I was...
Here in Portugal?
Yep.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So because I came, in the beginning I was going back and forth between the United States. So I had an Airbnb, I switched to a different Airbnb. I lived in a hotel, beautiful hotel for a while. Did a different Airbnb, a different hotel, which was also beautiful. My first apartment that was in Lisbon. And then I moved to Almada. I had one apartment there. I'm in a different apartment. I just moved so much, and it was just so stressful. Most of the people I know here, and most people like me, like LaBoss, we've been here 3 years or less. A couple of people have been here longer, but most people I know, the 3 years or less kind of mark. Yeah. All of them have moved more than once.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
All of them have moved more than once.
Now that I think about it.
Yeah, so housing, I would say, just keep that in mind, that if you're thinking of like, I'm moving from where I moved to this other place, you might have successive move after you get to your country. Right, Catsby? My cat's getting done this too. Yeah. She came with me. Another thing to think about when you're moving. When I say I came by myself, I brought a cat from the United States.
Oh, okay. You got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are also things that you want to be thinking about if you think of moving. How many of any of your belongings do you want to bring with you? Do you have a pet that you want to bring with you? How do you feel about bringing? We have people who brought family members. People who brought their parents here.
Yeah.
So like, who, if anyone or anything, in the case of a cat, is coming along with you? Yeah. And you need to make accommodations for that as well. Because like coming with a cat, your apartment may or may not be okay with you living with a cat. So you have to think about that as well.
True. Wow, that's you giving them game. So let's go to now Portugal versus America.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you say has been the biggest difference for you living in Portugal versus living in America?
I would say, there's so many ways I can answer this. I'll answer it one.
Go, get it.
Yeah. So many. I would say that the U.S., things move by money. You could throw money at things and make things move, right? In Portugal, things move by relationships. Ooh. It's how you treat people, who you know, how you connect, and things like that. And so if you come in with an American attitude and I sign this, I need this, they don't know you. Nobody's going to help you in the same way. Threatening a place, I'm never coming here, I'm leaving a bad review, that's money, right? Like, oh my gosh, if we don't get cussed, people will tell you, go somewhere else. With that attitude, I hope you do.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'd say that.
Go back to your own country.
Yep, relationships.
Just wild. I'm wild.
But I would say relationships make things move here. That's much more important. People care more about how you treat them than they do about how much money you have. Wow. So that feels much more different than the United States in a lot of ways.
Wow. I can't wait to crop out that section for promo. Man. So next question. Yes. Twanna is dropping gems over here. So in your time in Portugal, Netherlands, England, and that equated to how many years? Around
about 6.
5-6 years?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would be your biggest lesson you've learned in your time living abroad?
Ooh. I'm going to say, wherever you go, there you are, as others have said. Because here's the thing, right? It's like the things that are important to you, the food you like to eat, what you like to do to spend your spare time, that's not going to drastically change just because you change the city that you live in, right? And so I would say that's probably the biggest thing, is just knowing wherever you go, there you are. And so you'll probably need to do some of this like deep work too about like what's important to you, what you care about. I had to do a lot of that even with the housing situation here. I had a friend really like take me to the mat, and she's like, hey, do you think some of the problems that you're having with your housing have to do with how you feel about commitment? Like, what are you feeling about commitment?
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, it's not quite, because I was trying to buy a house and it didn't quite work out, and I had to work through my own just like issues of like, that's a lot to take out a 30-year mortgage in a town that I've only lived in for like 3 months, right? So I was bringing in my own emotional baggage to that. So wherever you go, there you are. And so I would say for people who are going abroad, there's work that we all have to do, right? To like kind of heal from things that we've grown up with or our views of the world. Granted, not everybody's doing that work. There are tons of people who brought their toxic asses along with them with their passports abroad, right? And that's the other thing to learn too, is not everybody's healthy. And so in the beginning, especially if you're hanging out with the expat groups or people who are from the same country that you are, you all have that in common, but there may be other things you don't have in common. You'll probably make some amazing friends from those groups too, and meet wonderful people. I'm just saying that it's not all going to be, everything, And so it's just a matter of just keeping a realistic approach to it all, right?
100%. And not just probably like, oh, let me try to be friends with them, let me stay friends because we're from the same place. Like, no, you're in a new country, you met yourself, etc. So, last question. So, you moved here solo, correct?
With my baby girl, Cat.
With your cat speed.
Yes.
What advice would you give to Black women back in the States that are looking to move abroad, but they're hesitant? They don't want to go by themselves. They're antsy to take that next step. What advice would you give?
One, I would say give yourself some grace. Like making any major change in life is difficult. And so just give yourself grace. And if you feel anxious or unsure or whatever, that's normal. That's normal to feel that kind of thing about moving to another place. So then some concrete things about, okay, so now what does it take to actually do it? So I would say first, like, think about, like, have you ever lived abroad before, right? This I actually did the research on. According to the Census Bureau, 58% of Americans still live in the state in which they were born, right? So more than half live exactly in the same state that they were born. So if that's you, or if that's not you, right? But think through, like, why haven't you done it before? What's important to you, right? What are the things that made you not consider just chucking it all and moving halfway across the globe or south of the border, wherever you want to go, right? Give some thought into those things, because those things are still going to be important to you. There are a lot of influencers.
Content creator. YouTuber.
who are influencing people on YouTube to do things. But a lot of people are talking about moving abroad, right? Not so many people talking about the number of people who come and then leave, right? There are people who are like, oh, my grandbabies are back home and I miss my grandbabies. You knew you had grandbabies when you moved. It's so, to be fair, there's some things that you don't know exactly how you'll feel until you're in it, right? And so, but then there are other things where people are like, there was no air conditioning. Google could have told you that. And so there are things that, like, I would say, do your research and be real with yourself, right? That's the, like, main thing. You've never done it before. So why not, right? So I would start there.
Start there.
So then after that, if you're thinking of going abroad, right? Then I would kind of think about, okay, like where, right? So many people start with like, I'm going to this, I want to move to France. I want to move to Portugal. I want to move to Mexico. Everybody's talking about Tulum and Merida. I'm going to move there. You may like it, you may not. And so my advice is always, don't pick a place and then start thinking about what it takes to move there. Start with thinking about what's most important to me, right? And then make that list of what's most important to me. And then after that, pick a country that fits that. That's how I landed in Portugal. I didn't pick Portugal. I made a list of the shit that was really important to me. Portugal happened to be really high on the list for all of those. And that's why I like it here, and that's why I'm staying here, right? If I had moved to cold-ass Norway, no matter how wonderful Norway is, I probably would have hated it. It would have triggered depression with all the like dark gray skies and the rainy weather and all. I'm like, oh my God, I hate it. And that's not about Norway. That would be about it not being a good fit for me, hypothetically, right? Norway's probably wonderful. I've been there actually. I liked it. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So Twanna came and dropped the ball, and y'all, we gonna end it out right there.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on the channel, Twanna.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Any last things you want to say to the channel, to people going to move abroad in general?
Yes. I want to say, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. I know when you're in the middle of at least for me, I'll say, when I'm in the middle of a big decision about like, do I go, do I stay, do I do this, do I date this person, do I not, or do I break up with this friend, or do I, any major life decision, I can sometimes get on the cliff, right? Where I'm like freaking out about like, oh, it's either this or it's not. It's like, I moved to the UK, and then I left and went right back to the United States after a couple of years. I got homesick. I missed my family and friends, right? And then afterwards, I fell in love with that Dutch guy, moved to the Netherlands and learned Dutch and had a whole Dutch life or whatever. We ended up breaking up. There were geopolitical things. September 11 happened. A bunch of different things. I decided to go back to the States. Now I'm back abroad again. Anything that you do, for the most part, can be undone. Any decision you make could go one way or the other, and you can make different decisions because of that. So give yourself some grace. If you're not sure if you want to go abroad, if you're not sure where you want to go, if you're just feeling this turmoil of like, oh, I don't know, sit with that, right? Do things like watch this channel. I actually loved Our Rich Journey.
Yeah.
That was one of the things. I was telling people I was thinking about going abroad. I was making my list. Portugal kept coming up, and I was like, I don't know a lot about Portugal. A friend of mine was like, you need to watch this interracial couple. I'm like, I think they're both black. She's like, she's not black and didn't know that. But I was like, I know. I think they're both black. But that is that. And so she was like, you need to see this interracial couple that's living in Portugal with their kids. So I started watching their stuff, and I was like, wow, they brought their kids, right? And having been in a relationship with a Dutchman where we had conversations about raising brown children in the Netherlands, right? And it was like they brought their kids, and so they had all kinds of conversations and thoughts of their kids being in school, and they moved not just themselves, but children to another country and another school system and things. So I was like, I'm gonna watch them. So I started watching some of their videos and things. So do what you're doing now, like watching this on YouTube. Do your research. Everybody who lives abroad has had someone message them and be like, I'm thinking about moving. Should I? Have you gotten those? Have you had people reach out? Yeah. I'm thinking, what neighborhood should I live in? Do your goddamn research.
There's something called Google.com. Google.com.
Yes. Do your research. Do your research. So that's what I would say. And not only that, I find in general, whenever I'm feeling anxious or worried or whatever, additional information helps reduce that stress. So your research is also feeding in information that will help you see more clarity in this big decision that you're about to make, which is, I'm excited for you. We're all rooting for you. We were all rooting for you.
Well, listen, man, there you have it. Twanna came and dropped amazing advice on her time abroad and being from the States. Y'all already know what to do. Hit that like button. I'm gonna wait. Hold on. Wait for him.
What?
Okay, they hit the button.
Hit that subscribe
button. You know what I'm
too.
saying?
Yes.
Comment below your thoughts. Comment below some questions you may have.
Yes.
We can address it for the next interview. And y'all already know what to do. Subscribe. You watch the LaBoss Show, baby. We on the LaBoss Show. We out. God bless.